Hi, this week we are going to talk about external environment and we'll focus on social and technological forces. So this lecture is a continuation from last week's lecture. So I would like to do a quick recap. So last week, what we have done is we talked about how macro environmental forces can affect industry. And one of the important key takeaway is that macroeconomic forces will influence all firms operating in that particular industry. So what we are really focusing on in this stage of analysis is the overall industry level of profitability, not firm level profitability. That's an important distinctions, right? So these forces supposedly will influence how firms operate in this industry. Yet how individual firms will respond will be different, right? And that's beyond these external analysis. So that's why I want to highlight such distinctions. And next we will talk about political legal force and how regulation change, elections, government actions will influence firm behaviors. We also have talked about economic forces, how those forces will have impact as well. And for And for this week, we'll switch gear and talk about two other forces. And also another thing I want to highlight is for the final project, I have three important tasks for you. So by now, you should identify a company that your group is interesting to work on. So if you have not done so, please be sure to talk to your groupmates. It's important that the company you decide to work on you have sufficient information to do various analysis, right? So you can either pick a large corporation where there are a lot of information on, or you can pick a company that you have worked for and you can get some internal information as well. That will help you to better facilitate this project. And furthermore, second test is I want you to do a careful read at the appendix section of the syllabus. In the appendix section, it provides a lot of information. You do not need to cover all of that in the final report, but this will provide a helpful guidelines on what else you can do if you choose to. All right. So it provides a rich set of information on items you can utilize to improve your final project. And third is that I want you to determine the work process with your teammates. If you have not done so, now it would be a good time to talk about what would be your approach to this final project, whether you want to take the divide and conquer approach or whether you want to collaboratively work together on each of these components. And it doesn't matter what you choose, you want to present the project and its analysis in a coherent, consistent manner, right? Because oftentimes a few group will simply utilize the divide and conquer strategy, have individual working on different pieces, and they simply copy and paste into one document. And for this course, it won't work because at the end, especially when during the SWOT analysis phase, if you do not have a coherent argument or coherent understanding of the situation, it would be very obviously that there's a misconnect in the external and internal analysis and the final SWOT analysis. So be sure to have to work collaborative on putting these different pieces together, right? So for today's agenda will be the following. First, we'll talk about social force. We'll talk about two specific examples, food consumptions and automobiles. Then we'll talk about technological forces by using internet as an example to illustrating how technological change could significantly influence industry levels for performance. Then we'll go over a tool set that people often use, which is simply called environmental scanning, right? So in terms of social forces, they are the following. First, societal value. Basically, it's what belief or value system a collective group of individuals in a society have developed, right? So a good example would be the emphasis on the uh, healthy food that could be a emerging social trend. And these social societal values will dictate what type of product this organization will develop in the long run, right? So that's why this social force will be important to pay attention to. Another one would be traditions. These traditions were often associated with the way people tend to do things for a particular day or for a particular occasion. A good example would be Christmas holiday or Black Friday, right? And in the US, at least, that's when we witness an increasing in sales across various products, simply because people are accustomed to purchase electronic device, clothing, or various items on these major holidays. So, in order to capture this trend, various organizations have come up with different promotion strategies, and in order to better accustom to this such surge of behaviors. There are also religious practice that could act as an important social force that will significantly impact industry level profitabilities. Certain religions have certain practice especially if they are your end target consumers, then you will need to pay close attention to these emerging changes, right? And another important changes would be people's concern for the environment. This has been around for many decades now, uh, and for then, but if we look at the content, it will vary by different years. So that would be another type of external force that you want to pay attention to. So overall, these social trends simply represent any type of activity collectively participated by a society as a whole. They are important because they represent a collective effort to to purchase some product or some service. And if you ignore such societal trend, then most likely you'll lose the opportunity to profit from this. Another important uh, trend that have occurred in the United States would be the following. I just want to highlight some of these so you have a good ideas on what to pay attention to for your final project. One of them is declining birth rate, right? So if we look at both developed countries and developing countries, we have witnessed that people just there's a significant decline of birth rate. What that really means that they will significantly impact related industries such as education, for example. So in fact, most of the university and college have noticed this trend, and we actually have an active discussion of how such declining birth rate will result in less registered applied students who are interested in Stony Brook University, right? So how do we deal with this? How do we anticipate knowing this it will happen? But the most important thing is what strategic action are we going to respond? How are we going to increase our enrollment rate, etc. Right? By noticing such declining birth rate earlier, we will be able to know and take the corresponding action to minimize the negative impact. Another important US trend is aging population. baby boomer, right? And not only that, because of the advance in medical technologies and our aging population has aging quite significantly, coupled with the declining birth rate. So that really means that in the future there will be emerging industry that could benefit greatly from this, such as in home care, pet, even pet industry that provide companions for elderly, right? So these would be important industry to focus on. And for existing industry, they may want to put in additional resources to help them boost their internal capabilities. And third social trend in the US is the more diverse societies. So with more diversities involved, that also means that consumers will have more diverse preference, and firms will really need to have to attend and figure out what type of product they can offer in order to deal with this diverse taste, right? And another important increasing trend is the emphasis on convenience. We like to do things quicker, easier, etc. That's why Amazon has become so popular. One of the trade secret is they actually figure out uh, how these online purchases can be made if convenient, right? So you only need with only one button, by clicking one button, you can easily purchase goods and or non-tangible goods and service online. And another societal trend is the increased preference for online shopping, thanks to the internet, right? Most of us have frequently done online shopping using various platforms, but that's not the case 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it doesn't even really exist. So with the internet technology, people have started to get accustomed to the ideas of online shopping, and this has become a social trend that since everyone is doing the same thing. And finally, the use of social media. Nowadays, people really have used various social media platform, and if and so company will have to figure out how to utilize those social media platform to influence or to enlist to attract more end users. So it's not surprising that many of these firms have actively engaged with influencer on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok in order to attract more consumers. So I'm just going to quickly use two examples to illustrate how social trend or social force has significantly influenced industry company in particular industry operate. One of the social trend is the changing the way how people uh, consume food item, right? Nowadays, consumer really like two things. They will want bigger portion, yet demanding healthier food. All right. So a lot of the restaurant business have noticed this trend as well, and they have modified their menu quite significantly. So in fact, many fast food restaurants have been supersizing their meal by adding extra fries or larger drinks. At the same time, because people are more health conscious, they start to expand their menu by offering alternatives such as grilled chicken sandwich or salad, right? And also, consumers are drinking more bottled water than and fewer soft drinks and eating more cereal as snacks compared to decades ago, right? So that's why we have witnessed similar change in product offerings by these companies. Another example would be automobile, right? Oftentimes, demand pattern for vehicle is difficult to detect and it's constantly changing. good example would be if we look at the demand pattern in the US, it's very different from other part of the world. In the US, people still prefer large vehicles. So large SUV, large car tend to be more popular than other part of the world. So it's not surprising that this truck SUV still remain one of the major category vehicle categories that had been popular across different car manufacturers. So these are some examples illustrating how by noticing these societal trends, social preference, companies have been able to come up with a corresponding strategy to attract additional consumers. And globally, for large international firms, they will need to pay more attention to these emerging social trends because fundamentally, social forces are influenced by natural cultures. So, so national culture are simply the generally accepted value, tradition, and pattern of behavior of a particular societies. But really, international firms, large firms that enter multiple countries really need to pay attention to these fine difference. A few firms nowadays, well, this pretty much a common knowledge nowadays, but some of the firms in the early 1990s, when they enter into uh, international market space, their managers and their executive often would prefer to use their national values, their cultural value as a standard to evaluate to and set uh, strategy actions in other countries. This often create a significant problems because what's being preferred in the United States may not be the preference in other part of the world, right? So this is so-called the self-reference criteria. And if managers and executives do not adopt or do not and understand the importance of other national values in other nations, most likely their profit will suffer significantly. They won't be able to reach and enter into a different market, and they will result in significant issues. So the bright space, I will have this as a group discussion. The question would be, is it possible to predict change in social trend far enough and in advance to capitalize on them without significant risk? If you think that's feasible, I would like you also to elaborate on how. How can this be done? If not, I will also want you to explain why you don't think that will be the case, right? And next, we're going to talk about technological forces. Technological forces are simply forces derived from scientific improvement and innovations. A good example would be the internet. It's probably the most significant inventions that have significantly influenced various industry. So in this section, we're going to use internet as an example to illustrate how technological forces have significantly shaped firm profitability across various industries. So during the beginning of the internet dot-com bubble, right? So a lot of the cable companies have laid up to cables across the oceans to connect Europe, US with China, Asia, and other parts of the world. Since then, these cables have provide high quality, low cost content with all these nations, and that really level the playing field. How? Well, we're going to discuss some of the important features of this technology and how it fundamentally changed. business model. So some will not agree, however, although the internet played a substantial role in influencing business practice, critics will argue that the notion that new business models are needed in order to compete in this new economy is not necessary. Michael Porter, in fact, and others argue that the market force that govern the traditional economic uh, have not really disappeared in the internet economy. So when you have a chance, think about whether that's true or not, right? And oftentimes there are because of internet technologies, we have noticed that it actually fundamentally changed. It does change the business model of firms. So before internet technology, most large firms simply exist because they can perform all these tasks more efficiently, ranging from manufacture, production, human capital, human resource management, financial management, etc. Because uh, large firms often have the capability to improve efficiencies, and they also have a bound well understanding knowledge on how they can efficiently organize various resources effectively, right? However, because of the internet, companies have become more progressive. Many of those companies decided to disaggregate and no longer perform all the functional activities. In fact, if you look at a lot of the startup in the Silicon Valley, in the New York region or Boston, Seattle regions, they actually have very different model. They actually will outsource various non-essential functions such as human resource, financial accounting to external firms and have those firms take care of those functions, while that can focus more on more essential business operations such as research and development or marketing in order to get additional clients. All right, so although some may say internet really does not change the business model, this example illustrate actually it does. And there are also important strategic dimensions related to internet. All right. So contrary to early expectation, the internet does not always generate greater profit for the company. Instead, consumers have benefited the most from the internet technology. And let's look at 5 strategic dimensions that will explain why that's the case. First dimension is known as the information asymmetry problem, right? So internet technology allow consumers and firms to basically resolve such information asymmetry, making information accessible to everyone. So typical markets are characterized by information asymmetry before internet, of course. Sellers basically will control important key information that is not available to buyers, and they can choose whether to what type of information they would disclose, right? They may sell you lemon for car, for example. At that time, before internet, consumer really doesn't have any weapon to protect them from. But with internet technology, information flow immediately, right? Consumers not only can easily compare the various product offering in the same category across different firms, they can also dig out user reviews and figure out whether the product offering is uh, good buy or not, right? So that's why this information symmetry components of internet really help consumer benefit greatly. Another important issue is that internet have served as a distribution channel. No longer would company need to have a large facility to store raw materials. And with internet technology and related methods, they have been able to use just-in-time approach to produce goods and service and distribute those to the end users. And in addition, consumer can purchase items, non-tangible goods and service from internet easily, such as airline tickets, insurance policy, stocks, and computer software without the necessity of physical delivery. Right? So again, this dimension greatly benefit the consumers. It is also provide speed up many of the process. It offers many various opportunity to improve the speed of actual transactions. We no longer need to use cash for any type of transactions, and you don't even need to be there in person, right? So internet really speed things up and make it very convenient for end users to buy product or services. It also significantly improve the interactivities of consumer. Consumer can easily discuss their experience of product or service on bulletin board, chat room, or various review website. And this actually become a very important information for the firm as well. Firm can easily aggregate this information and find out what works and what's not working. And that will help them to improve their product and improve their service. So that really help the company out as well. And finally, internet have the potential for cost reduction and cost shifting. It provides many businesses with opportunity to minimize their cost and enhance flexibilities, right? So these are some of the important dimensions that internet technology have offered to the both customer and companies. One of the emerging trend that's derived from internet technology is mass customization, right? Its ability to individualize product or service offering to meet specific buyer demand. So if you check out many clothing stores, you may have noticed some of them have offer these individualized product. For example, if you go to Ralph Lauren to order a polo shirt, you can make several customizations, right? So that really help you to design something unique for yourself. And such personalization does not occur at the expense of economy of scales. So in the old days, without internet, in order for firms to customize for your needs, you need to order a large amount of goods. Otherwise, firms simply will not do that. With internet technology and the advanced IT, nowadays that's very feasible. So technology have significantly enabled firms to engage mass customizations. And there are also companies, they uh, notice these trends and utilize them very effectively. In fact, if you look at many of the company that provide tailor-made suit, that's exactly using this mass customization ideas to improve their um, profitability by doing so. And we won't have this group discussion on Brightspace, but when you have a chance, please do talk to your teammate regarding what industry will experience the most significant change over the next decades because the emerging technology changes, such as AI, quantum computing, or various other technologies. All right? Take a moment and have a quick discussion. I think you will benefit from this as well. And in terms of tool set that will help firms to better detect all these macro environmental forces. One of them is so-called environmental scanning. So basically, it's a systematic collection and analysis of information about relevant trend in these external environments. By doing so in a structured, systematic way, firm will be able to stay ahead of the curve and figure out what emerging trend they can benefit and capture from. However, this is not an easy test because nowadays the problem instead of getting information, the problem is figuring out what type of information they should look at. This is a real challenge because there's so much information out there, and no longer information a collection is the issue. It's how to organize this information and then conduct the appropriate analysis. And environmental scanning is quite beneficial. First, you increase the general awareness of environmental change, empowering in organization to know what's going on. It also will enable these firms to better plan how they can deal with this emerging opportunity or even threats. And that way they can make better decisions. It also will result in greater effectiveness in governmental matters. And they will be more efficient and effective in diversifying their portfolio and figuring out how to allocate resources. So there are a lot of benefits of environmental scanning. And as a result, it's not surprising that there are firms that actually specialize in doing environmental scanning in order to identify the mega trends, right? So please take a look at this YouTube video that will highlight how a firm have been effectively uh, conduct this environmental scanning. And finally, I want to quickly talk about the strategy analysis exercise. So for this week, this exercise will help you to better understand how the social and technological force will influence firm profitability of the industry. So in this exercise, you will need to identify the specific social and technological forces that could influence the industry. I want you to specify what factors, not only what factors, what force are actively play, but also I want you to explain in greater detail how these factors will impact the industry the firm is operating. Remember, the focus here is on the industry, not the firms, right? And firm level impact will be discussed in the SWOT analysis. And this slide simply highlight two useful web resources that you can take a closer look that will help you to identify trend and figure out to do this environmental scanning process, right? And that's it for this week. Thanks so much.